So we're going to talk about this. It's very important. I know that some of our viewers have already tried to bring it to our attention. We're aware Christina Applegate got her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame yesterday. Now, she was surrounded by her former co-stars from her hit show, Married with Children. This is her first public appearance since revealing her multiple sclerosis diagnosis last month. Christina gave an emotional speech at the event. Take a look.
I don't say that I have friends. I have family. These people take care of me. They take care of me every day of my life, and without them, I don't know what I would do. And lastly, the most important person in this world is my daughter. You are so much more. You are so much more than even you know. Oh, by the way, I have a disease. Anyway, did you not notice? What? I'm not even wearing shoes. Anywho. You're supposed to laugh at that.
Wow. Christina also explained why she was barefoot, tweeting, "For some with MS, the feeling of shoes may hurt or make us feel off balance. So today, I was me, barefoot." So what do you think of Christina's speech and how she addressed her disease? I also want to point out that was Katie Seagal, remember, the mom on Married with Children.
Peggy Bundy, yes.
Holding her up. What did you think?
You know, it's weird that I heard her say that, and you know, I talk about my son being on the spectrum during my show, and like sometimes people are like, "Oh," and I'm like, "You don't get to feel sorry for him." You know, we talk about these diseases, and we act like I feel like there's like this weird thing where we have this response like, "Oh, I feel sorry for you," but she's making jokes. She's still herself. My son is a beautiful human being. There's nothing to feel sorry about, and I feel like that needs to be constantly hammered home with anybody that has any kind of ailment. You are still you and having a human experience. And I feel like when sometimes we put these people on a pedestal for a reason, sometimes we kind of slip into feeling sorry for them, and that takes away a little bit of their humanity. They're still a person. I don't want anybody to feel sorry for me. I feel like we're all here. We're all lucky to be here, and it's part of the human experience, even when it's like something as bad as MS. So shout out to her, and shout out to her getting a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Let's not brush past that. That's a big deal.
Absolutely. Obviously, she just came forward recently. We talked about her anger about her diagnosis, and I think that's something that we should also leave room for. Yes. That people have a right to feel all spectrums, from the joy of the win that we see her today to the anger from the diagnosis, thinking that this is a time that should be quite celebratory in her life and her career, and she is being forced to deal with this. And I think it's okay to have that spectrum.
Yeah, she also said she was grieving her old self. I think we need to remember that there's 7 stages to grief, so it's going to take her some time to accept her new representation of herself.
Yeah. I think we need to bring Dr. Kohli and learn a little bit more about the disease, right?
Yes. Okay, so we're going to bring Dr. Kohli in to learn more about MS and what Christina is dealing with. So, Dr. Kohli, you see some stars, right, with MS, like, for example, Jack Osbourne, Montel Williams, who seem to have an easier time with the disease versus other stars like Christina Applegate, Selma Blair. So why does MS affect some people drastically and others not so much?
You know, Erica, you were talking about Christina's anger. I'm angry too as a doctor, because we don't have great treatments for this disease, and I've seen a lot of diseases in my career, but MS is one of those diseases that can devastate somebody's life, because depending on which nerves your immune system attacks, your body turns against you. Your immune system attacks your own nerves. You could go blind, you could be unable to walk, you could have bowel or bladder incontinence, you could have sexual dysfunction. It changes your day-to-day life, and it can just be like a lightning bolt. You can wake up one day and just have MS. And even when you've been diagnosed with MS, you can have periods where you're better and periods where you're worse, and it's just completely unexpected. So I'm angry about this disease too, and I hope, Jeff and I were just talking before, we can do better to not just treat it, but actually prevent it with the possibility of creating a vaccine against the virus that we think might be causing it.
How far out is that, like, realistically?
Not too far, actually. We've made tremendous advances in the virus. I think the biggest breakthrough came last year when we discovered that Epstein-Barr virus, which causes mono, could trigger somehow MS in the people that are predisposed to it. So not everybody who gets mono is going to get MS, but certain people predisposed, women more than men, could have it. So imagine if we could vaccinate everybody against EBV, we could change the course of this disease.
But why does it seem like Montel seems to be functioning a lot easier than, and I say that carefully, superficially, because I don't know what Montel deals with on a daily basis, but why does it seem like that it's affecting certain people more than others?
Because it does. It's really variable. So it depends on which nerves it targets. So if your immune system targets little tiny nerves that make you feel sensation in your fingers, maybe you'll just have a little numbness or tingling. But if it targets the other nerves that make you walk, or the ones that hold you up and give you balance or make you see, then you might have more of those consequences.
So for people like Christina Applegate who are dealing with MS, what is the expectation in terms of the disease's progression?
So there's two different ways you can manifest your MS. Some people have, they go up and down. They're on a roller coaster. They get better, and then they get worse. They have flares, and then you treat them with the drugs, and then in between the flares, their symptoms sort of seem to settle. They can have a functioning life. Some of those people will progress, and then every time they have a flare, they won't quite recover from it, and things start to degenerate, and that's when you can see a lot of consequences. Other people just start out much more severe, and they just, from the very beginning, never really recover their full function. And as you can imagine, since you don't know which nerves are going to get attacked, your disease could be different from day to day.
Jeez.
One day you could wake up and not be able to control your bowel or bladder function, and that would be totally unpredictable. And doctors don't know who's going to have which course and when one course will change to the other.
Well, I guess that's my question. It's like you said that we don't have a cure, but when we talk about management of this disease, I'm sure there are people at home watching that are taking care of somebody with MS, or they have it themselves. So what would you tell them about just managing this?
We've made tremendous progress. So I want to be really optimistic about that. So, if you have a flare, we can kind of hit your immune system hard with steroids, just shut it off so it stops attacking your nerves. But we even now have treatments that can change the course of kind of programming your immune system a little bit differently so that it stops being as reactive to your nerves and stops attacking them quite as much. And those are injection antibodies that we can give even in between the flares that can hopefully kind of keep your immune system from misbehaving, so to speak.
Wow. Now, there's another star that we wanted to get your expert advice on. So Jay Leno was hurt in a fire. TMZ reports that Jay was working on a car at his Burbank garage. He was reportedly fixing a clogged fuel line when a fuel leak sprayed gasoline on his face and hand. A spark triggered an explosion, setting him on fire. The left side of his face and hands were burned. He was rushed to the hospital with third-degree burns. So this is the car that he was working on, according to TMZ. It's a 1907 white steam car. Jay released this statement saying, quote, "I got some serious burns from a gasoline fire. I am okay. Just need a week or two to get back on my feet." Wow. Dr. Kohli, go ahead, Erica. I know that you brought this story to our attention.
Well, how serious are third-degree burns, and what is the possible treatment for them? Because I'm thinking of like wound therapy, stuff like that.
They're as serious as they come, especially when chemicals are involved. So chemical fires can be really damaging to the tissues. So third-degree burn means the top layer is gone. That's the epidermis. The second layer is gone, the dermis, and you're actually burning through down to fat, tendon, muscle, or perhaps even bone. Jeez. So it's a full thickness burn. It kills the nerves, and they may or may never come back.
So that would affect functionality, I'm assuming, as well?
100%. So a lot of people sometimes don't recover sensory function. That area stays numb even after they heal. And the healing is very complicated because you've essentially taken away our biggest organ, which is our skin, exposed the tissues underneath, so you can get infections, you can have lack of sensation, you can have all kinds of complications. And if you affect any motor nerves, it could even affect your ability to use your hand. And the location where Jay had him worries me too, because it's his face and his hands, the two highest risk areas and the ones that have the most nerve endings. Our hands and our face have a lot of nerve endings. So essentially what they're going to do is to try to actually put a bandage, which is called a skin graft, peel off a layer of healthy skin from somewhere else and try to cover up that wound with that. And that's the fastest and kind of best way to heal a third-degree burn.
I had to do wound therapy, and when the nerves started coming back, it was like a spark. Like I just kept feeling sparks in my leg. And that was season 1. And it took a while to like get that sensation back, but it was dramatic.
Wow. Yeah.
That's crazy. You felt the nerves coming to life again.
Yeah, you feel it like it's like a spark plug.
Wow.
And the
You
problem
never
is-
told us that. I remember when we started the show.
Me too.
Erica's leg went through a wooden floor
Al
in
had
Mexico.
to make me go to the doctor.
Yes, and I was like, yes, she had this open wound.
Dr.
You know,
Jackson
Erica's
had to
walking
make
around
it to the
like, no. Yeah, so. that's
Erica's like an
interesting.
old tough grandmother.
Yeah,
She's just like, I'll be
it's fine. It's fine. It's not Erica.
Dr. Kohli, thank you so much for answering all of our questions. If you at home have a question you would like Dr. Kohli to answer, write us on social media or send us an email to info@dailyblastlive.com. Also, you can follow Dr. Kohli on Twitter @Payal Kohli MD for more important information about your health.